All right. If you can hear me, let me know in the chat room because I have been waiting since Tuesday night to unload my raging bile duct on that embarrassment of an episode The Flash delivered. So, if you can hear me, let me know and let's get this thing started. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go! Cool. Alright. Okay. Well, it's Thursday night. Impact just went off the air, and that means it's time to talk about stuff that's completely unrelated to wrestling, because that's just how my schedule works out. Once again, let's please try to stay on topic. So if I'm talking about The Flash, don't ask me about Arrow or S.H.I.E.L.D., because I'm a little bit ADD, so just try to stay on topic. Let's go one show at a time, and then afterwards, when we're all done with the shows, you can ask me about whatever you want. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started with The Flash, Season 3, because they made 3 seasons of this. Jesus Christ. Episode 19, The Once and Future Flash. Caitlin turns into Killer Frost and somehow manages to escape Barry even though Barry has super speed. You figure that one out. But fuck that noise because Barry has to go to the future to figure out how to save his girlfriend. So he goes to 2024 only to find out that he did not save Iris. She died at the hands of Savitar, and in the several years since, he has disbanded Team Flash, let his family fall apart, and let metahumans run amok through the city because without his girlfriend, none of that really means anything to him. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen! So anyway, Barry decides to stick around long enough to get the team back together, without Caitlin though, I guess because putting the power-dampening cuffs on her would be too much work. He inspires his future self to get back to superheroing. They take down some bad guys, and then future Barry tells him about some chick who made him some gizmo that trapped Savitar in the Speed Force. But she didn't finish it until after Iris died. And apparently the thought of traveling back to 2013 and telling her that he needed it then so she'd have enough time to finish it before Iris died just didn't occur to him. Whatever, I'll get to it later. Because Barry Allen is the biggest fucking dumbass on Earth, you guys know all that. Anywho, back in the present, Savitar reveals himself to Killer Frost, but honestly, who the fuck cares at this point? Jesus Christ. This episode was awful. This was absolute fucking garbage. Even by the standards of a show that has set the bar so low for itself that I routinely want to strangle the writers out of sheer frustration, the complete fucking ineptitude of this one genuinely shocked me. So you know what? Fuck all the finer details, because this episode doesn't deserve it. The following is a list of all the stupid, brain-dead, idiotic, dumb fuck, asinine things that happen in this episode. In no particular order. Cisco, Julian, and HR are running from Caitlin and hiding from her in one of the particle accelerator cells, despite the fact that Cisco can fucking teleport! Why not just teleport them all out of there? Beats me! Fuck this show. So then Barry shows up, and Killer Frost ices up the doorway and runs from him. So Barry immediately phases right through the ice barrier, but somehow, someway, Killer Frost has managed to escape. Forget about the fact that Barry has super speed, and Caitlin couldn't have taken more than like 5 fucking steps before he caught up to her. I mean, for fuck's sake, she wouldn't even have gotten to the end of the goddamn hallway. But we're supposed to believe that she somehow outran the Flash. Fuck this show. In the future, they have finally managed to recapture Killer Frost, but instead of just, oh, I don't know, putting the necklace back on her to inhibit the powers that magically make her evil, or simply putting the power dampening cuffs back on her, they're just letting her rot in a fucking cell for no reason. Fuck this show. At some point, Wally tried to face Savitar by himself and wound up with a shattered spine and confined to a wheelchair for life. Gee, that sounds familiar. I seem to remember an earlier episode when Barry suffered a very similar injury, had his back broken, lost the use of his legs, but healed up quickly and was walking perfectly fine again by the very next fucking episode. But no. It makes perfect sense that Barry would heal from an injury like that no problem, but Wally can't. After all, it's not like they've stressed several times that Wally is faster than Barry now, which means that he has stronger powers and thus would heal faster too. Oh wait, it is! Fuck this show! Barry goes after the Top and Mirror Master, confronts them on the street. This fight should have been over before it even began, because he literally could have finished them off before they even knew what was happening. But instead of just using the element of surprise and taking them down before they would have a chance to react to him, once again, he decides to talk to them like a dumbass, thus giving them a chance to render him fucking helpless when he could have easily taken them down like 50 times in a second, and probably would have gotten himself killed if future Barry hadn't showed up to save him just so they could set up a completely fucking contrived action sequence for the climax. That was completely unnecessary. Fuck this show. Future Barry tells Barry that he defeated Savitar by trapping him in the Speed Force with this gadget made for him by a woman named Tracy Brand, but she didn't actually finish building it until 4 years after Iris died. Why the hell is this a problem? He could have just time-traveled back to 2013 and asked her to build it then, so she'd be able to finish it with time to spare. But for some reason, this doesn't occur to either of them. Would it be screwing with the timeline again? Yeah, sure it would. But for crying out loud, considering the state of things, I would think that the very good odds of changing the future for the better would outweigh the risks in this case. And it's not like the writers haven't been shy about changing the rules of time travel to suit the needs of the plot whatever the fuck they feel like it anyway. And Jesus Christ! If the Legends of Tomorrow can cripple the fucking Pentagon during the Cold War without changing the timeline in any way, why is Barry going 4 years into the past and asking a woman to build a thing not a possibility? I mean, the fact that neither Barry, nor future Barry, nor anyone else for that matter even consider this as an option is absolutely fucking baffling to me. Fuck this show. But beyond that, you know what the real bitch of this episode was? Essentially, they're telling us that Barry disbanded Team Flash, pushed his family away, even after a lot of them were crippled, maimed, or driven insane, and left Central City completely unprotected while metahuman criminals are free to just raise as much hell as they damn well please, all because he lost his girlfriend. The Tumblr fangirls would probably call this romantic. I call it fucking disgusting. They're telling us that Barry's self-worth and motivation to be a superhero is so utterly and absolutely dependent on freaking Iris constantly boosting him up, that the second she's gone, he loses all hope and gives a big middle finger to every single one of the responsibilities he took upon himself when he put on that costume. This isn't romantic. This just makes Barry look like a weak-willed little bitch who never grows up and who never should have even tried to do this in the first place because he's the worst fucking superhero in the world! And not to make this comparison again, but Oliver has lost plenty of people that he loves. But you know what he does when that happens? Does Oliver give up? Hell no! Oliver picks himself up, dusts himself off, puts the hood back on, and he tries again. And again, and again, and again, and he doesn't stop trying until there are no more bad guys left to put arrows in. Oliver is better, Barry sucks, Arrow is better, The Flash sucks. Fuck this show! I don't know how much more of this I can take. We still got a couple episodes left in this season. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Chat room, take it. On the bright side, it looks like people are starting to call The Flash out on its flaws. I have read articles and fan comments calling it out. Maybe the free ride it's had is over. You have? Can you link me to those things? To those articles? I'd like to read those. Post a link in the chat room. Please. This Flash episode wasn't horrible per se. No, it was. It was. It was just absurd in why everything went to shit. I get it. A post-apocalypse is what they were going for, but why? Their answer was because Iris died, which implies that she's basically all that's holding the city together. The entire city, Team Flash, everyone's desire to protect the city and the innocent all collapses because of Iris dying, and the crazy thing is this episode is a ripoff. The plot of this is a ripoff from the Teen Titans episode where Starfire died and the team fell apart and the city fell to pieces, but there it worked somehow. Here it just doesn't. No one cares about Iris in the audience the way they cared about Starfire, and when I say ripoff, I mean literal ripoff. Look at the scene where Raven went crazy because Starfire died. Now look at the scene where Kid Flash is nuts. It's scene for scene. You're right about the... Alright, I'll just go through all TGA's comments. You fucking nailed it about Iris. They're taking the most boring, superfluous, pointless character on the whole show and telling us that no, she's the most important one, guys. Without her, all hope is lost. So they're telling us she's important, but they're not demonstrating what is. We still don't care about Iris. She doesn't fucking do anything. The whole point of her is to be a fucking plot device right now. And now they're telling her, no, she's the most important person on the whole show. Arguably even more important than Barry. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Let's see. No, wait, alright, let's go back. I thought other than the villain fuck-ups, this was a decent show. No. This week's episode was like the Barry Allen version of It's a Wonderful Life, which is an insult to It's a Wonderful Life. Alright. At least we know that Julian isn't dead and HR can't be Savitar, so they're not doing the most obvious things. Well, Julian isn't dead in this timeline, but, always in motion is the future. And we know that this particular timeline probably won't be happening anyway. I highly doubt Cisco is going to lose his hands. So, I think that's still up in the air. HR, yeah. Wait, we can't even be Savitar? I don't know. Killer Frost said that Barry would be surprised when he found out who Savitar is. That implies that Savitar is someone Barry knows. I'm trying to think. I don't think we ever saw HR and Savitar in the same place at the same time. I think it could still be HR. Probably isn't, but who knows? This episode proves that The Flash is not one of the best shows on TV. Oh, there are plenty of fucking episodes that prove The Flash is not one of the best shows. There are plenty of episodes that prove that. Most of them, in fact. I remember that episode. It's funny how a half-hour cartoon did better than a live action. Yeah, a half-hour cartoon aimed at and written for kids. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'd sue, but if owned by Teen Titans, they're both DC, so yeah. Savitar is either future Barry or Robbie Raymond. Ronnie Raymond, I think you mean. Well, Ronnie Raymond's dead. Isn't Ronnie still dead? I don't know, maybe if he came back to life at some point in the future, then in the further future he could become Savitar somehow? I don't know. That's pushing it. So Caitlin is the one who betrays them as Killer Frost, and Wally is the one who suffers a fate worse than death, paralyzed and traumatized. Well, no, because that hasn't happened yet. That was in the future. That was in a possible future that I think it's pretty safe to say won't be happening. So that's still up in the air. But I guess Caitlin is the one who betrays them. I was really hoping they would think of something more creative than that, because that was about the most predictable way they could have gone. Because they telegraphed the living fuck out of that. Savitar's HR, calling it. Possibly. I'm hoping they've got something more creative in mind, but as this season has pointed out, they don't like being creative. They like doing the most obvious shit imaginable. Wally sees who Savitar really is, and the shock makes him become traumatized. Yeah, I don't think there is any way this will live up to the hype. Was that their excuse for why Wally was catatonic? I don't remember them explaining that, but I was kind of checking out at that point anyway. Dude, just don't watch The Flash anymore. Stop torturing yourself with this shit show. Fuck the Flash. Guys, I made a commitment. I'm reviewing the show. I'm going to finish the season. I'm going to finish the season. I'm going to finish what I started, and then we'll see. I'm doing it for you guys, because I know you guys appreciate that I still cover the show. At least I hope you do. I'll finish the season. I can get through a couple more episodes, hopefully, and then we'll see. Angry FK equals YouTube gold. I'm glad my rage is so entertaining to you. No other options. The only real option other than that is Iris's dad, which would kind of work, but no, they don't really have the balls to go there. Let's see. After this season, does Flash join Gotham and Legends of Tomorrow on your not watch list anymore? At this rate, probably. I mean, we really are in Season 1 Legends of Tomorrow territory here. It's that bad. Jesus Christ. I mean, if they want a real surprise, make it Iris's dad. Go there, but they won't. But if they did, I'd almost forgive this nonsense. Yeah, that would be a hell of a twist. I would have absolutely zero faith in their ability to explain it, but that would be a hell of a twist. And what was better, Batman the Animated Series or X-Men the Animated Series? Oh, God, don't make me choose. I'd say in voice acting, Batman, hands down. X-Men did serialized storytelling, like multi-part episodes, which I really liked. Because I don't know any other shows that were really doing that type of stuff. So I preferred X-Men in that sense. Batman probably had better animation, so I don't think it's clear-cut. I mean, certain things were done better on one show than the other. But getting off topic here. If anyone from Teen Flash how to brain, they would just get Iris away from the time she's supposed to die. Well, yeah, I've pointed that out a number of times. You know where and when Iris is supposed to die. Just remove her from that location, and you've changed the timeline. Hell, I mean, Jesse Quick went to a parallel Earth when she knew that Savitar had plans for her. So She went to a parallel Earth where Savitar couldn't reach her. If it's that easy, just fucking send Iris with Jesse. Problem solved. This isn't complicated. I hate this storyline so much. There are so many ways this could be easily resolved, and they don't go for any of them. They don't even think of them because they're fucking dumb. They're so fucking dumb. The New Mutants movie will have a horror movie. You know what? Nope, guys, nope. Let's save the off-topic stuff for last, okay? I can't keep saying save it for last and then just answering them anyway. Off-topic stuff comes last. Okay. They said he went after Savitar and didn't know what he saw, but it caused him in this state. Okay. Batman the Animated Series. X-Men cartoon was okay, but Batman was brilliant. Yeah, I guess if you put a gun to my head, I'd say Batman the Animated Series. I do have a soft spot for the X-Men show, though, because I was an X-Men guy. I grew up with the X-Men. They're my favorite superhero team of all time. That's why it really sucks to see what's happening with them now. I'm not reading any comics I'm not reading any X-Men comics right now. Because Marvel's entire comics division pretty much blows at the moment. Moving on, though. I really felt good to get that off my chest. I was holding that in for a couple days. Okay, Arrow. Season 5, Episode 19, Dangerous Liaisons. Helix know a guy who invented some magical tech that can find Prometheus, just like that, by detecting his heartbeat somehow. Well, I'll just pretend that makes some kind of sense, and just chalk it up to comic book science. But anyway, this guy is currently a prisoner of Argus, and so they convince Felicity to help them break him out. This becomes an issue because Argus has enlisted Team Arrow's help in making sure this guy stays a prisoner. But it's not as cut and dry as it sounds, because it turns out Argus is holding this guy without due process. And on this show, that's an actual issue. Unlike on The Flash, where they literally do this all the time. Ultimately, Helix and Felicity break this guy out, which really puts Felicity in conflict with Team Arrow. But since Argus was technically holding this man illegally, there isn't much that can be done about it. Now that they've got their man, Helix fucks off, but they leave Felicity with the tech she needed, and she uses it to find Adrian, only for him to all of a sudden hit the Arrow cave with an EMP. So, presumably they won't be able to use the tech anymore. Too bad, that would have been very useful. Also, there's some unrelated stuff about Renee and Quentin going on in the B-plot. This episode did a really great job highlighting something that has always bugged the hell out of me about The Flash. Argus needs Team Flash's help to keep Helix from breaking this guy out. But the fact that Argus are holding him without due process of law is a big issue for Dig, and this creates problems with him and Lila because he really objects to what they're doing. Lila sees it as a necessary evil because this guy, Caden James, is too dangerous to risk him going to trial and being found innocent or risking him escaping or whatever. But Dig just finds the whole thing just morally reprehensible because he believes in the law, he believes in due process, and they're just bypassing that whole thing. And it really isn't resolved either. It's not tied up with a neat little bow. This is something that's hanging over them now, and they're going to have to find a way to get past it or resolve it somehow. So here, we have Arrow taking the idea of denying a dangerous prisoner his legal rights of due process and turning it into a complex moral issue with strong arguments on both sides that each person struggles with and no easy solution. Now compare this to what happens in The Flash, the show where they routinely lock up criminals in the particle accelerator, ignoring these people's basic legal rights to an attorney, a phone call, and all that stuff, basically just leaving those people to rot in their cells and never even considering that due process is an issue, despite the fact that one of the members of Team Flash is an actual police officer. Team Flash has been doing this for 3 seasons, and this has never even come up. If anyone out there is still wondering why I say that Arrow is a better show than The Flash, there's a great example of it right there. You know, you really have to wonder why Dig was so indignant about Argus doing this to one person when he's never had a problem with Team Flash doing it to multiple people over 3 years. I'm just saying. Anyway, that whole issue was really interesting and very well handled, actually. It kind of ignores that Oliver basically locked up Slade Wilson in the Lian Yu prison without due process, but that was a special case. And plus, Slade Wilson was basically a terrorist who had threatened the lives of thousands and rained havoc upon the city, and there was no question about his guilt, so it's not really the same thing. As for the rest of the A-plot, Felicity's hands are getting dirtier and dirtier now from this association with Helix. She's going down a dark path here, and the cool thing is that she doesn't even see it that way. Oliver and Dig can see that she's on a slippery slope, but from her perspective, she thinks she's doing the right thing. And what I like about this is that it seems as if they're actually presenting this as a character flaw that Felicity has. You know, it's not that she's not just full of righteous indignation and just turns out to be right in the end. No, this is something that they're all saying. This is a dangerous path you're on. You need to stop doing what you're doing. It doesn't feel like the show is just glorifying Felicity again. It's a morally gray area, but ultimately I think the show is leaning toward her being in the wrong here. And the producers are so completely infatuated with the Felicity character, this does not happen very often. That she's presented as being in the wrong about anything. Forgive me if I'm going to enjoy this while I can, because this is pretty rare that they do this. Also, we got this B-plot about Renee trying to get his daughter back because, not wanting her back because he thinks he was a bad father and she deserves better than him, blah, blah, blah. And Quentin trying to convince him otherwise, that, a kid needs her father and whatnot. Yeah, no action in this plot, not connected to the A-plot at all, at least not yet. It's just character stuff to flesh Renee out and continue to develop the friendship with him and Quentin. And Renee is going to be a regular cast member next season, so that's probably warranted. Nothing bad about any of this. It doesn't seem relevant to the Prometheus story, at least not yet. It could tie in later, but it's good character stuff, and sometimes that's all the justification you really need. I'm not gonna complain about it when it's well done. Very strong episode here. I really don't have any complaints. Felicity comes off like a huge hypocrite at times, but I think she's supposed to, and it works because they don't frame it as her being in the right. It feels like they're setting her up for some kind of a fall here, and I, for one, am very much looking forward to that. So, good stuff, Arrow, good stuff. Okay. All right. I like the brains versus brawn aspect of this episode until I realized that they just job out the entire team Arrow to Felicity. Well, Felicity and Helix. Plus Felicity, Helix, and a team of mercs. And when Helix had the ability to hack into those gun turrets. Plus Oliver hasn't really gotten his mojo back yet. So, yeah, I understand your frustration, but I'll give him a little bit of leeway on this one. Even though I get it. Believe me, I get it. I think Helix betrayed Team Arrow at the end of the episode. It's possible. Like, maybe that tech she got from Caden James was rigged up to trigger an EMP when she used it, so she wouldn't have access to the tech anymore. Maybe it was Helix who did that and not Adrian. You got a good point there. In the preview, they showed that Felicity is going to be paralyzed again. I wonder if they will keep it that way this time, or will just do the Chip story all over again. No, I don't see why. I don't see why they would. No, they could like just give her an operation. Yeah, they swap the Chip out for a fresh one. Seems pretty open and shut. Should be pretty easy. I mean, hell, Curtis had a gizmo that could interfere with the alien tech just lying around the Arrow cave. He could probably handle this. The episode I didn't really get, because why not just have the technology screw over Helix and kill the hacker guy if he's so dangerous? Why not kill the hacker guy if he's so dangerous? Yeah, well, there... Dude, Oliver's on a no-kill kick right now. He's trying to prove that he's not a killer anymore. You could make the argument why Argus didn't execute him if he was so dangerous, but I mean, they were holding him illegally anyway, so they didn't have any compunctions about breaking the law in this guy's case. But it's just, I don't know, capital punishment. Not everyone's gonna go for that. I like the law too. I also like domestic terror groups to not be able to found their own armies of mercenaries and hack whoever they want. Due process be damned. Okay. Not really going to argue with that point. To say nothing about the fact that Team Arrow routinely kills about 299 people per mission and no one seems to care. You know what? I'm just going to say no comment on that one. Really like the surrogate father-son relationship that Quentin and Renee have. Yeah, me too. That was really unexpected, too. I mean, this whole relationship kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm really enjoying it. Overall, this episode of Arrow was great, but frankly, I kind of expect Arrow to be great, so it's ironically average. I don't know if I expect Arrow to be great every time. I think it's been kind of hit and miss from season 3 onward. This was a really good one though. I mean, I think there's still overall Arrow still has more hits than misses though. Also, to be honest, I have this feeling that Helix and or Caden James will be the villains next season, if not turn up as the main villains this season. Excuse me. This season with Prometheus just being window dressing. Oh, I certainly expect they'll be villains in some capacity next season. I think it was very telling that we didn't see Caden James's face. I think there's going to be some kind of reveal there that they've got. That's going to come back, and they'll be bad guys. My guess is by letting that guy escape, they just set up the main storyline for season 6. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Who do you think Savitar is? You know, I'm going to choose not to answer that one because no matter who I say it is, I'm probably going to end up being disappointed. Anyway, moving on to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 4, Episode 19, All the Madam's Men. I wonder if they intended that title to sound so dirty. Sure, it was an accident. Anyway, now that Daisy has her powers back, her and May make their big escape from the Hydra Triskelion, which involves really just mowing down a lot of Hydra red shirts and then blasting Ophelia out a window. Something which probably should have killed her, but it's Ada, she's cheating. So S.H.I.E.L.D., still reeling from Mace's death trap, reeling from Mace's sacrifice. Damn autocorrect. Fuck with my notes here. Mace's sacrifice, his death, are trying to figure out how to make contact with Daisy before Hydra finds her and May with the help of Bakshi running the propaganda machine, because Bakshi's back this week. and plastering their faces all over the news. Meanwhile, Simmons and Tripp figure out that Ada is planning to create a real body for herself in the real world, one that won't be limited by her programming, so she'll be able to kill them at that point. And she has Fitz, who right now is acting head of Hydra while she's bedridden, putting the finishing touches on the device. So S.H.I.E.L.D. finds Daisy and May. They commandeer a news station, and they put Coulson on the news, and he tells the public the truth about what Hydra's been doing, and that Mace was a hero who was just trying to save a bunch of kids, and that Hydra put in danger in the first place. This one starts with some big stuff right off the bat. Daisy and May escape Hydra. Ophelia is blasted out a window. And that's all cool, and then the rest of it is mostly dealing with the fallout. So they kind of slow the pacing down a little bit once the action's done. As a result, this episode doesn't quite feel as breakneck as the other ones in the story arc. But they make up for it with the character development. May really falling back into the person she really is. Really feeling at home with once she meets up with Coulson. Them peeling back a layer on the relationship between Fitz and his dad. But ironically, the best stuff was with Ward. Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this. I guess the writers decided to throw the Skyward shippers a bone here. Yeah, delusional as they might be, they were really fucking upset when Ward was killed off last season, and the Tumblr fangirls were so fucking livid about Ward not getting a redemption arc, because, every villain has to get a redemption arc or else it's just bad writing. So says SJW Logic or whatever the fuck. There was some nonsense like that. And this wasn't an apology to those people exactly, because the show is sticking to its guns that Ward was a bad dude. But I feel like this episode was a little bit of a peace offering to those people. And Daisy recognizes that this particular version of Ward is a good guy because he was dealt a different hand in life. He never got corrupted by John Garrett. He was influenced by the right people, Victoria Hand. And as a result, he turned out for the better. He ended up a good man. So if this Ward could turn out okay, then Daisy acknowledges that, okay, all right, maybe there was some good in the real Ward after all, and I just didn't bother to look for it or something. So they actually managed to develop Ward's character posthumously after his death. And I hope the Skyward people appreciated that, because the writers were under no obligation to do it, but they went and they did it anyway. Even though, personally, I found that stuff to be extremely squicky. I was like, no, man, I'm not here for the Skyward stuff. Don't do this show. Don't make me feel bad for Ward. Don't you do it. Don't make me feel bad for Ward. God damn it, they son of a bitch, they went and did it. They actually made me feel bad for Ward. I appreciate the nuance it took to pull that off, but man, I felt like punching myself. So great character stuff. Even if it made me feel a little uncomfortable. We also get more information about what Ada's endgame is. We see a little bit more with her and Fitz and her plans for him. He wants to go with her to this other place, and she says, I was hoping you'd say that. So she wants to keep this new version of Fitz around. I'm still waiting for Simmons to find out about this. I'm still waiting for her to find out that those two are together. And I want it to be a big thing when she does. But they're waiting a while to play that card, and I'm a little antsy. I suspect it'll happen next week, because I think that's when they're getting out of the framework, but we'll see. But yeah, I really like the stuff with Fitz and his dad. We get to understand exactly how much of a toxic effect the dad had on him, how abusive he clearly was in trying to stamp out any empathy and compassion that Fitz had in him. Again, all good character stuff, and that's where the episode shines the most. And if I had any complaints, I think it would be the time that Daisy and May spend trying to avoid being seen out in the open before they make contact with S.H.I.E.L.D. Because they're trying not to get noticed. But they're kind of just walking around in broad daylight. And we know that there's there's security drones all over the place, and their faces are on the news and on billboards and stuff, and guys, just find a dark alley to hide in until nightfall. It didn't seem like they were doing a whole lot to conceal themselves there. It was something I had to tilt my head at a little bit. And that's mostly it, actually. I do get the sense that the story was stretched a little bit thin here. Not that they could have compressed this one and next week's installment into one episode, but maybe they could have wrapped it up in like an episode and a half. Because I feel like they're getting... I feel like they're getting out of the framework next week. The press releases basically spoiled that one, but I'm not sure they needed 2 more whole episodes to get to that point. So there's a bit of a slowdown where they do some stuff that doesn't feel entirely necessary, but they do fill it with good things. Like I said, character development all very well handled, and the scene at the news station is pretty cool. If for no other reason than for Coulson getting to do the one damn thing that he's never allowed to do in the real world, which is go in front of a camera and say, I exist, I'm not dead, I'm an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Really nice to see that, and goddammit, if only the bigwigs at Marvel would allow Coulson to do that for realsies, we could finally put this fake death nonsense behind us. Because there is literally no reason why the world should continue to think that Coulson is dead. No fucking reason at all. That's one of the biggest sticking points I have with the MCU. Their baffling insistence on keeping Coulson dead. I understood it in Season 1, but we're way past that, and it makes no goddamn sense anymore. So I really like Coulson getting to do this. I'm sure it felt really cathartic for him as well. Good episode here. I'll say it might not be quite as strong as the other episodes in this Agents of Hydra pod. It's probably the weakest one, just because the story feels like it's reaching its end point, and they had to draw things out a little bit longer than the story required in order to fill 2 more episodes. So the story felt a little bit thin in this one, but even though they had to slow the pace down and stall for a little bit, there was still a lot of good stuff there. And overall, I still think the Agents of Hydra pod has been the best story arc the show has produced this season. Okay. There have been a lot of guesses about who may come out of the framework. My guess is Mac's daughter. I still think there's a chance she is Moon Girl, and that could make for some good arc to kick off Season 5. I guess it's possible. But the way they explained it, I think Ada would have to create a body for her in the real world. And I don't see why Ada would do such a thing. They did raise the question of, well, maybe Daisy, Ward might get his version of Skye back after Daisy leaves. So it's like if Daisy just jumped, this body is like an avatar, and Daisy is just kind of borrowing it, and then Skye comes back after Daisy checks out. Then maybe the framework version of Mac would reappear after our Mac goes back to the real world. So there'd basically be 2 Macs, one in the real world and one in the framework, and they'd be different people. Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't mind if they brought Mac's daughter along, though, if there was a way that could happen, because I like her a lot. She's cute. A child actor actually seems talented too. That's pretty rare. Is it just me, or was the looking glass the same design as what Dr. Wilkes made in Agent Carter? I'd have to rewatch Agent Carter to refresh myself, and I don't know. Possibly. I guess it makes sense. Daisy sending Ada out the window wouldn't kill her. She's a robot and doesn't have human vitals, so the framework doesn't take the toll on her that it does on the others. Yeah, pretty much. This whole ep was setting up the looking glass thing, which I can almost assure you will serve as some kind of portal between Counter-Earth and our world from now on. Alright, I'm not going to refute that. Anything's possible at this point. I do expect that they're going to leave the framework running after they leave, because that seems to be one of the arcs this season. is when the season started. We had characters like Mac and Simmons drawing a fine line between what's a person and what's a robot, and now that line is becoming very blurred. And Mac, when Mac finds out learns the truth about his daughter, he's gonna want to, even if he has to leave her behind, he's gonna want to think that she's real. He's gonna want to think that that little girl is real. So, also we see Simmons starting to really question things. I think there was a telling moment when she explained the whole thing to Trip, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, I believe you." She's like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, it's not the weirdest thing I've ever heard," or something like that. And if he's not like programmed to think that the idea of another world is bullshit, if he actually believes it, that implies some kind of self-awareness. So that line is it's not clear cut anymore, and it's getting more and more blurry. So I think if nothing else, they're going to leave the framework running so that world doesn't just go away. Looks like Ward was a blank canvas to be drawn on by whoever got to him first. In the real world, it was Garrett so evil, and the framework Hand so good. Yeah, pretty much. I guess he was a really impressionable guy. Good to see Bakshi back. Give credit to Simon Cassianides for taking a basic second-in-command villain to being the most memorable TV comic book villains of the last 5 years. Yeah, the weird thing about Bakshi, they actually planned to kill him off pretty early on. And after 5 episodes in season 2 or something, he was going to be one of the Hydra people that Cal killed when he went to go meet Whitehall at the first time. But then, they told the story before. But then I think they were doing a cast read, and they liked him so much. They said they looked at each other and they all looked at themselves and were like, "We got to keep this guy around. He's too cool to get rid of." Yeah, I'm so happy to see him back. Bakshi's awesome. That's how they'll keep Trip around, how they'll keep Good Ward around, and how they'll keep Mac's daughter around, because the world they exist in is real and therefore can be entered or left. Yeah, technically. It would be cool if Evil Fitz made it out of the framework for a Battle of the Brains showdown with Good Fitz in Season 5. That I could see how that could be a thing. If Ada's making a body for herself, she could make a new body for Evil Fitz. Maybe if Evil Fitz can't just inhabit the real Fitz's body, maybe if that's not possible for whatever reason, she'd have to create a new body for Evil Fitz, so you could have real Fitz and Evil Fitz simultaneously in the real world. That could actually be a thing. I could see them doing that. When I heard the name Looking Glass, I knew it. Watch out, going to be a plot next season. Okay, love the Bill Paxton tribute that was made in the beginning. Yeah, I saw that too. That was really nice. Okay. Did it seem to anyone else that Coulson got his memories back in that last scene? I think over the course of the episode, he's starting to feel more familiar with his surroundings and with the S.H.I.E.L.D. environment. I don't know if he's getting his memories back all the way, but I think he's starting to feel at home in this situation. So it's kind of just like slipping on an old pair of shoes or something. Let's see. I don't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I'm so tempted to watch it because of the female cast members of AOS talk about eye candy. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's some... Yeah, there was even more before Adrian Palicki left. Oh, yeah, they got some very sexy ladies on this show. I've never denied that. Wouldn't it be funny, out of all the people they bring back Burroughs, who was a kiss-ass in the real world, but would be a true soldier in the framework. Which one was Burroughs? Was he that techie from when Simmons was undercover at Hydra? Because I think so, yeah. That would be funny. Only 3 episodes left in the season. I wonder if they will have a 2-hour finale next week. Finale week after next. Possible, but I doubt it. Because if it's 2 hours and it's going to midnight, and no one's probably not a good idea if you want people to watch. Plus, I think there's probably like late night TV on at 11. I think Jimmy Kimmel starts at like 11:30 or something. I don't know. I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. Um, What all is happening in our world is the part I'm fascinated by. What maybe seemed like seconds in Counter Earth may have been far, far longer in our world. Yeah, possibly, but I think a certain amount of time in our world has passed because we see like scenes there. We see Ada interacting with the superior, and it was a certain amount of time had passed because he had his people locate the jet that Simmons and Daisy are on. So I think it's probably been more time in the framework, but I don't think I don't think it's just been seconds in our world. I can see how Ming-Na blew out her knee with the landing of Flip Matrix move. Yeah, I saw that. She was at a premiere and she had like a knee brace on. Yeah, I'm surprised she hasn't been injured more. I mean, she's usually like the go-to person for action scenes, and she's 50 plus. I mean, you wouldn't know it from looking at her, but she's in her 50s, so I'm surprised that she hasn't been injured more. Good God. And she's discovered the fountain of youth. All we've seen in this arc was Counter Earth, while in our world the LMD crisis hasn't ended. There were dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Okay. And Ada and the Superior have had no one to oppose them in our world. God only knows what they've been doing all this time. Our world may be like Counter Earth now under LMD control instead of Hydra. Yeah, we'll see. Do you hear any rumors of AOS might end in season 5? I haven't heard anything one way or the other. I've kind of been avoiding those rumors this season because all they do is stress me out. So I don't really read those anymore. How is Fitz going to react when he finds out he's been brainwashed? Is this going to put a ripple on him and the team? Oh, he'll be traumatized, sure, because he did a lot of evil stuff. And I expect he's going to keep those memories when he leaves the framework. How is he going to react? I'm sure he'll blame himself, because that's kind of what he does. And I expect he'll probably seek out his father in the real world to try to get some closure there. Because they did that tease when he was talking to the Radcliffe LMD. It's like he said something, he had something he wanted me to tell you, and then Fitz didn't get a chance to know what it was, so I think that's going to be something for later. If S.H.I.E.L.D. gets renewed, I demand one pod arc for next year is for the team to get sent back in time to Agent Carter so we can wrap up her loose ends and see how S.H.I.E.L.D. got formed officially. That would be cool. It would be nice for Agent Carter to actually do what it was supposed to do, which is show how S.H.I.E.L.D. was formed. Of course, I guess they'd have to get some of the cast back. They might not be available. They could probably get Haley Atwell back. I mean, she's always seems really eager to fall back into that role. So, it's possible. What happened to that book that made Counter Earth? The Darkhold? What happened to all the shit going on in our world? That's basically a whole season coming, and this is not even kind of over. All right? Think of all the setups: Coulson fanboying over Peggy, Howard Stark flirting with Simmons, May can fight Dottie, Trip can reconnect with his grandfather. The ideas write themselves. Well, Trip is still dead. I think you mean framework Trip, but they'd have to bring him out of the framework somehow, and which means they'd have to make a body for him somehow, and then cinematic time. It's a lot of moving parts there. Also, Bridget Regan, who played Dottie, is on another show now. The Last Ship, I think. Yeah, so I don't know. She probably wouldn't be available. Do you think Guardians overdoes it with the humor? Guardians of the Galaxy? Well, I liked the humor in the first one quite a bit. I haven't, we're still a little bit removed from Volume 2. I'll get back to you once I see Volume 2. Burroughs was the guy sucking up to Mace that got killed by the plane crash. Oh, him! That's right, yeah. Right, thank you. It could air at 9 and 10. Yeah, it could. Maybe if whatever aired at 9 was a rerun that night. After Infinity War movies, what do you think is next for the MCU? Well, they'd have Guardians Volume 3. They'd have the Doctor Strange sequels. They'd have Captain Marvel. And I don't know. I guess they'd have to move on to some of the more obscure characters because most of the main people would probably be about finished at that point. I guess they'd have another Ant-Man and Wasp. Wait, yeah, I think these will probably come up before Ant-Man and Wasp. So they'd have the Ant-Man sequels as well. Yeah, I guess they'd have to switch to some of the more obscure characters. What do you think about DC possibly making its own streaming network and putting the Titans live-action show and Young Justice Season 3 on it? Sounds smart, because television is a dying technology. The future is on the internet. Because sooner or later, every show is going to be on the internet. It's all going to be online. That's just the way technology is moving. I think within our lifetime, television will be done away with completely. Not going to happen anytime soon, but that's the way it's going. You can tell it just since Netflix took off. That's just the way things are heading. So yeah, I think it would be a smart decision actually. What new Marvel hero should have their own movie that hasn't had one yet? We counting Captain Marvel? They kind of covered all the major ones. Oh, the New Warriors. I don't know if they'd want to do like separate movies for characters like Speedball and Namorita and all those people, but they could do a New Warriors movie. I'd watch the fuck out of that. That'd be awesome. Not really a huge brand, but I mean, neither is Ant-Man, really. Masters of the Universe has a December 18th release. Who would you cast as He-Man and She-Ra? I'd go with Chris Hemsworth or Margot Robbie. Yeah, that's probably who I'd go with, too. Do you think people will still be excited for the MCU if the main characters decide to leave? Well, nothing's stopped the MCU so far. I mean, they've turned characters who were probably a bit of a hard sell into really successful movies. Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. Yeah, I think people will still go to see the movies as long as the movies are good. What do you think about Young Justice returning as Ian Malcolm for Jurassic World 2? I'm excited as hell for Young Justice. I think it was a fucking crime that Young Justice got canceled after 2 seasons. That show was so good. So good. I'm hoping they can pick up right where they left off. But it's going to be a while before we see anything. Ian Malcolm returning for Jurassic World 2? Okay, I don't know how they're going to possibly convince Ian Malcolm to go back to that fucking island. But, you know, whatever. I'm not really expecting brilliance from those movies at this point. I think most of them have been pretty disappointing. I think, Christ, man, really, the first one was the only good one, really. And even that one, I think, is slightly overrated from a storytelling standpoint. But yeah, I love me some Jeff Goldblum. So I'm not going to complain about him being back. That's how Evil Fitz gets sent to the real world with the LMD Fitz that got fit. LMD fits that got fixed after Simmons stabbed it, and its body would serve as evil fits from the framework. It could, or Ada could just create a living body for evil fits. Do you think the DC animated or movie base would ever put a Tim Drake Robin in a movie? Possibly. I think it's more likely he'd show up in the live action because the animated universe has already moved on to Damian Wayne, so they kind of skipped over Tim Drake there. And the DCEU, it seems like the Jason Todd thing happened at some point in the past, so they skipped over that. So I guess, and when they get to the Batman solo movies, they could introduce Tim Drake there. Unless they want to just do Damian Wayne there too. He'll probably show up at some point. Yes, Young Justice was brilliant. Hell yeah. I hope that your phone doesn't ring again because I wouldn't blame you for getting so damn mad. I would have just thrown the damn phone out the window. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's after 11 p.m. I don't think anyone's calling at this point. Spider-Man 2 comes out in July 2019, and we know that there's going to be a Guardians Volume 3. Yeah. So we'll get the Spider-Man sequels. We'll get Guardians 3. We got Ant-Man sequels, Doctor Strange sequels. We got Captain Marvel. And, beyond that, there's other stuff that could happen. They could get the rights to Fantastic Four back at some point. Fox could just throw up their hands and say, fuck it, you can have Fantastic Four back. We're done with this brand. It's caused us nothing but a headache. So they can get the Fantastic Four back. Maybe at some point. Beyond that, I don't know. New Warriors. Make that movie. I would see that movie several times. And yeah, I think that's about it. Thoughts on the Sony Spider-Man villain universe? I think it's fucking dumb. I think this is Sony just throwing ideas at the wall, seeing what sticks, so they can hang on to the rights to the Spider-Man license. Because they only have the license because they gotta make a Spider-Man related movie every couple of years in order to hold on to it, or it reverts to Marvel. So I was thinking, we're just gonna do an expanded universe out of all the villains. Yeah, then we'll keep the license that way. That's why they want to do the Sinister Six movie that'll never happen. That's why they're talking about this stupid Black Cat Silver Sable team up movie. God, these ideas are so fucking dumb. But yeah, that's why they're doing it. Black Widow needs a movie. Agreed. Surprised it hasn't happened already. So what we have in the real world is Ada, the Superior, the Watchdogs, LMD Fits, and an army of LMD Daisies. Should be a fun finale. Well, yeah, I guess those LMD Daisies could still be alive. No, still be there, yeah. Yeah, because those they could have fixed them up if they'd blown up, yeah. Okay. That's about all I got for now. I don't think I'm working on Saturday, so the Impact stream should go on the usual time. Saturday, sometime in the afternoon. So I will talk to you guys on Saturday, hopefully. But if I have to move it to a different day, there's always a notice on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter for updates at TheRealFK9. I will talk to you guys in a few days. Over, out. Oh, also, before I forget, I hosted an episode of the HeelCast, special episode with me and Hurls, kind of dissecting the Knockout division. We reviewed the Victory Road Knockouts Knockdown pay-per-view, and we kind of dissected the whole roster and a lot of the recent stuff going on with like how the new regime is treating various knockouts and all that stuff. I think it turned out really well. And it's on the HeelCast page right now. It should be uploaded on impactasylum.net either today or tomorrow. So check that out. I hosted it, which could have been a complete disaster, but it turned out all right. So go listen to that, and I'll talk to you guys on Saturday. See ya.